After the war, there was no finish line parade, no luxury, no peace, just work. They had to build a country from the dirt up. No internet, no comfort, just brick, by brick, by brick. That's how purpose works, boss. It's not built in a single prayer. It's built in repetition, in days when no one claps, in choices that no one sees. Want to build something that lasts? You're gonna have to sweat when nobody's watching, sacrifice when nobody thanks you, stay holy when it would be easier to sell out. That's what America did. And that's what you must do too. Because destiny doesn't show up like a lightning strike. It's built quietly, by faithful hands who refuse to quit. America was never meant to be one color, one sound, one idea. It was meant to be a mosaic, a painting made of many stories. Black, white, brown, broken, brave. People came from every shore, some in chains, some in search, some just trying to survive. But all of them brought something holy, a song, a skill, a scar. This land is sacred not because it's perfect, but because it holds the blood of the broken and the hope of the healed. You too are made of many things, darkness and light, victory and wounds, and still, God calls you whole, because in His hands your diversity becomes your destiny. We've burned before, civil wars, civil rights, cities on fire, hearts torn in two. But through every flame, one truth remained. This country bends, but it doesn't break. Because beneath every riot, every recession, every betrayal, there were still voices praying, still hands helping, still people who believed this land was worth saving. And maybe that's your story too. You've been through fire, but you're still standing, not because you're unscarred, but because your scars became sacred. God doesn't just pull people from flames. Sometimes He walks through them with you. Ask the 3 Hebrew boys. Ask every survivor who's found peace in the ashes. You can build a building with steel, but a nation, you build that with faith. And for all our flaws, this land was framed by faith, in churches, on dirt floors, in whispers and shouts and gospel hymns. America didn't just grow by laws, it grew by believers. And even now, with division in our streets and doubt in our headlines, faith still holds the frame. So don't let the noise fool you. God's not done here, and He's not done with you. Sometimes we forget what we're made of, where we came from, who walked before us. But America is not just a country, it's a calling. And your life? It's not just a breath, it's a blueprint. So don't play small, don't settle for average, don't kneel to fear. You were made for freedom, for fire, for faith. Just like this land, you are not finished, you are being forged. If this message stirred something inside you, don't just listen. There are 2 kinds of fires in this world, the ones that destroy and the ones that define. America was born in fire, not comfort, not calm, but chaos, blood, and belief. And maybe so were you. You see, fire is never just about burning down. Sometimes, it's how God forges His strongest foundations. So when the heat comes, don't curse it. It just might be your calling. Because this is the story of America. And maybe, just maybe, it's the story of you too. Before there were skyscrapers, before there were freeways and Wall Street, there was wilderness. Cold nights, empty hands, uncertain tomorrows. But they came anyway. Not because they were fearless, but because they were called. Pilgrims, farmers, fighters, mothers, preachers, they didn't come to chase luxury. They came to chase freedom. And freedom, boss, always has a price. It cost them blood, it cost them children, it cost them peace. But they paid it. Because they believed in something bigger than themselves. That's what makes a nation, and that's what makes a life. Not what you own, but what you're willing to sacrifice to honor your calling. Let me tell you something real. God doesn't build His strongest warriors with easy roads. He builds them in the fire, in the waiting, in the wrestling. The early Americans didn't have perfect plans. They didn't even speak the same languages. But they had one thing in common. They kept going. When crops failed, they didn't quit. When sickness came, they buried the dead and kept walking. That's not just resilience, that's divine preparation. And maybe your pain right now isn't punishment. Maybe it's process. Because before God gives you a platform, He builds your character. Before He gives you the dream, He tests your foundation. Before the world knows your name, God makes sure you remember His. 1776 wasn't just a date, it was a declaration. A moment when men looked at a king and said, "No more chains. We are made for more." But here's the truth. They didn't win that moment with muskets. They won it with conviction. The paper was just the beginning. The real fight came in the trenches, in the cold, in the fear, in the silence where they could have said, "Forget it. It's too much." But they didn't. Why? Because somewhere deep down, they believed God was with them. And when you believe that, even your weakness becomes a weapon. So what chains are you still carrying? What king have you let sit on your throne? Maybe today's your declaration moment. Not just for a nation, but for your soul. And neither is yours. This is just the beginning.